or
So according to Morella, it means Mashiach. But okay, we are on the bottom of Kuf Chav Amar Aleph with the Mishnah. This is the second to last Mishnah of the Masechta. We're going to try to finish the Masechta tonight because tomorrow night is the Eish dinner, and Eliav will be there, being honored. Very chashuv. We wish Eliav Mazel Tov on that well-deserved honor. But it's like officially the Amud goes until Tuesday night. But we're going to Martisham do it tonight. Here we go. It's like the Elegant Mishnah. Yashnu Miktsas. What happens if you're eating the Korban Pesach and some people fall asleep? So Yechlu, you can still continue eating the Korban Pesach. But Kulan, if everybody fell asleep, lo Yechlu, then you can't eat the Korban Pesach. Take a look at Rashbam. What issue are we dealing with over here? The issue is that the Korban Pesach is not allowed to be eaten in two places. Pesach is not eaten in two places. Take a look at the Rashbam. Yeshnu Kulan lo Yechlu. They started eating the Korban Pesach. The Yeshnu, and they fell asleep. Lo Yechlu. You can't eat the Korban Pesach anymore. Because it appears like you're eating the Korban Pesach in two places. Because once you fall asleep, so they were mesiach, they weren't planning on eating anymore. And the Tana considers this as if you're eating in two places, just like a hesach hadas, let's say for brachas, would it require you to make a new bracha? It's like a shini makam. So he says the same thing is going to be for Korban Pesach. The chumrah ba'almu, and he said this is a chumrah. So I'm curious. I didn't do the discussion about it. What happens if you didn't eat it like your kazayas yet, and you fell asleep in the middle of your kazayas? So you haven't fulfilled your mitzvah yet. Would this chumrah knock off your ability to continue to eat a kazayas or Korban Pesach? I don't know. Okay. Now the Rashbam says it is not an issue of Shtei Chaburas, and he explains why. But I want to go down a few more lines, three lines down in the wide lines of the Rashbam, towards the end of the line. Here says the Rashbam, V'hu adinami b'matzah, b'zman hazeh. Eating matzah nowadays, la'achar shehischal lechel matzahs chayva ba'achrein. The Rashbam Shita is that the matzah that you fulfill your obligation of be'erev techlu matzahs is the matzah you eat for afikaimin. That's what he calls matzah shel chayva. So he says, if you started eating your matzah chayva b'achrein v'yashan, and you fall asleep, or I guess everybody fell asleep, hefzek achilihi v'shov lo yoichal, and you can't continue eating it anymore. Mishum de'avida zeichel pesach b'zman shebeis hamikdash kaim. He says because they made it, the matzah that you're eating they made it a zeichel pesach. The Rashbam before said it's really a zecher to the matzah you ate with the Pesach. It's not really a zecher to that matzah. You're actually eating the matzah you would have eaten with the Pesach. So this Rashbam is a little bit, the Lashon is here a little bit shver, but that's what he holds. He holds that we'll see why he says that. We're going to see in a second why he says that even if you yourself fall asleep, you can't continue eating the matzah. So let's go a little bit further. Again, the Mishnah again is talking about eating the Korban Pesach, and it says if some of the group fell asleep, you can continue eating, but if everybody fell asleep, you may not continue eating. Topic of Chav Amid Beis. Rabbi Yossi says, the way the Rashbam learns is that Rabbi Yossi is coming as a chumrah, and he holds, he's going on the first part, Yashnu Miktsas and Yechlu. He says that's only if they're nisnam whatever. Yeah. Yechlu. They're allowed to eat if you were dozing. But nirdimu, if they fell asleep, lo yechlu pesach. I'm sorry. Nirdimu aloi. Okay? So that's what he holds. I got that wrong. No, I got that right. Okay. Lo yechlu pesach. Yeah, that's how you read it. I'm sorry. If they just doze, they're allowed to eat it. Nirdemu lo yechlu. Period. So the way the Rashbam learns this is going back on even a yachid, even miksasan, and the only time you have a heter for some people If they fall asleep, they're allowed to continue eating if they were dozing. But if they actually fall asleep, then even a yachid may not continue eating his Korban Pesach. And the Rashbam says he wouldn't be able to continue eating his matzah either. So if you fall asleep while eating your afikomen, you would not be allowed to continue eating according to the Rashbam. Others learn that Rabbi Yossi is a kula, and he's going on the case of kulan, that even by kulan, the only time we say that kulan is a problem is if they were near dimu. But if kulan were nisnamnu, then it would still be okay. But so Rabbi Yossi is coming lakula. I think that's how we pass it. Now, the Mishnah has one more halacha. Pesach acher chatzos. The Korban Pesach, once chatzos comes, mitam es hayadayim midrabanan, it will be mitama your hands. So that was a gezer to make sure you finish eating beforehand. And the same halacha applies for Pigul and Nosar, are also mitama hayadayim, and the Gemara will explain what that purpose of that is. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Zok the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi Yomer. Nisnamnu yoichlu nir demut lo yoichlu. What's nisnamnim? What do we mean by dozing? Amar Rashi, the Rashi tells you if it's nim v'loy nim, tir v'loy tir. He's sleeping but not sleeping, he's awake and he's not awake. Kegoin, for example, dekari le va'ani, if you call him, he'll answer. V'loy yodila adurei svara. But he couldn't explain something to you. The case Rashbam gives that as an example is that if you ask him where something is, he doesn't know. V'chimitkru. But if you give him options, mitker, then he'll remember. So if you say, we're looking for the, we're looking for this bottle of wine. You know where it is? No. Is it in the cabinet? No. Is it in the fridge? Yeah. Right. So that would be good enough. Okay. That's called nisnamne. Again, so yeah. According to Rashbam, Abaye have Yosef made the Rabbah. The Rashbam learns this is talking about Leil Seder. We'll see in a moment. Tosfos argues. Rashbam says this is talking about Leil Seder. Abaye have a Yosef made the Rabbah. Chazu de kamenat nimnim. He saw that he was dozing off. Amrlei min nimkana no amar. Mar, you're falling asleep. Is what he says to Rabbah, which I think was his uncle. Amrlei. I'm not sleeping, I'm just dozing. Okay, so you see, the Rashbam brings a rai from here, that when did Abaye and Rabbah live? Obviously not Bisman HaMikdash. What were they eating? Not the Korban Pesach, they were eating matzah. And still, Abaye was concerned that he was falling asleep, and he's not going to be able to continue eating the matzah. So the Rashbam brings it right from this Gemara that you see that the halacha is not only, the din of the Mishnah is not only by Korban Pesach, it's by matzah, by the afikomen as well. That's how he learns. Tosfos on Kuf Yotez argues, and he says that's not true. This story was not a story that actually occurred on Pesach. Doesn't say anywhere in the story that it was on Pesach. We just took it out of the context. This was actually a story that happened on Leil Tainus, on the night of a tainus, and the halacha is, if you fall asleep on the night of a tainus, even if you were to wake up before Alayis Shachar, the tainus is already chal. That's if you fall asleep, and you didn't have in mind that you were going to eat before you woke up. If you stand fall asleep, then we assume that when you fall asleep, you're going to wake up after Alayis, and the tainus is already chal. So he was asking Rabbi, is this considered sleeping? And he said, no, this is not real. I wasn't sleeping, I was only dozing. So the Gemara was bringing the halach is the same, but it was a different context. It was a context of a tainus, not of Pesach, and that's the Tosfos learns that the halach of the Mishnah is only referring to Korban Pesach and not to matzah. Okay, fantastic. We go weiter. So now this is the next Gemara is one of those that you just got to know, okay? This halacha that you got to finish eating the Korban Pesach ad chatzos. So where does that come from? So the Mishnah said here that if the Pesach after chatzos is metames yadayim, means we want you to make sure you're finishing to eat before chatzos, and if you don't, you finish. If you don't, then it's going to be metames yadayim. So says the Gemara, Alma mechatzos havlei Nosar. Why is the Korban Pesach Matam Yadayim after Chatzos? Because it's nice, like the rest of the Mishnah said, that Pigul and Nosar become Tamei. So why would it be nicer at Chatzos? Says the Gemara, Man Tana, who is a Tana of our Mishnah? Amr of Yosef, Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah. It's Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah. And here's the machlokes between Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah and Rebbe Akiva, is the Korban Pesach need to be eaten before Chatzos, or may it be eaten mid'oraisa even until alais. Everybody agrees mid'rabbanan you got to eat it before Chatzos, like the first Mishnah in Bracha says that things that are nachal yemachad have to be eaten by Chatzos, otherwise we're concerned that you may come to an Isser Karas, or Chiv Karas, by eating it after alais. So that's a din d'Rabbanan. But we have machlokes here, Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah and Rebbe Akiva, if this Chatzos business is the Oraisa or the Rabbanan. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah holds mid the Oraisa, you have to finish eating the Korban Pesach by Chatzos. Rebbe Akiva says you get till the morning, and here we will see the drushes that they make. Zak the Gemara. The Tanya, we learned in a Brisa. V'achlu es habasar balayla hazeh. You eat the meat on this night. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, Eimer, nemar kam balayla hazeh. It says by eating the Korban Pesach the words balayla hazeh v'nemar la'alon, and it says when referring to makas b'chayris va'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim balayla hazeh gzeir shava ma lahalon ad chatzos avkan ad chatzos. Not even ad chatzos, it's ad chatzos. Just like over there when it was Kadosh Baruch Hu was being over be'eretz Mitzrayim balayla hazeh v'kisa kol b'chaverim Mitzrayim me'adam b'hem b'chol ha'ar Mitzrayim es hashvatim ani Hashem. That was at chatzos. Interesting lesson. I don't know why the Gemara says at chatzos. That was at chatzos. So adkan. So when it says balayla hazeh, it means at chatzos. Geshmak hadrasha. Amar Rabbi Akiva balei nemar chipazayin. The pasuk says chipazan, that you got to eat the you eat the Korban Pesach b'chipazayin, with haste, because they were leaving. And when did they start leaving? They left in the morning. So that means you got to be able to eat the Korban Pesach all the way until Alis HaShachar. At Shas Chipazin, until the time that they had to be rushed to leave, they were eating the Korban Pesach. So, for the Gemara, Im Kain, Matam Lemer Balayla. So then why does it say at night? Yachal Yehi Nachal Kachim B'Yayim. You might think this should be like all other kachim, where you're allowed to eat it by day. Talmud Lemer Balayla. You may only eat this Korban Pesach, or you eat it at night. You do not eat it the day it was shechted. Regular kachim kalim, like a shlam, or even a taida, which only have one day to eat, you eat it the day it's shechted and that night. This korban, you do not eat the day it was shechted. You only eat it the night, at night. Says the Gemara, V'Rebbe Akiva, Hai Hazeh, my avidly. What does he use with the word hazeh? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had a gzeir shava to makas b'chayris. My avidly. Mi baile lemukute laila acher. Who does? It's come to tell you that you only have this night to eat the Korban Pesach. You do not get another night to eat the Korban Pesach. Why would you have thought you get another night to eat the Korban Pesach? Sal kadaita chamina. I would have thought haylu Pesach kachim kalam, v'shlam kachim kalam, just like Pesach is kachim kalam and shlam is kachim kalam. And what's halacha by shlamim? Ma shlamim nechel l'shnei yamim v'layla echad. A shlamim you get to eat for 2 days and 1 night. So I would say, oh, well, I know I can't eat it the first day, so maybe it gets the opposite halacha. So maybe it's eaten for Av Pesach oikim leilos b'makim yamim. I put nights instead of days. V'yei nechel l'shnei leilos v'yei echad. I would be able to eat it for 2 nights and 1 day. The Rashbam brings a machlokes Rashi and the Rashbam if you'd actually be able to eat it the next day in the Havamina, or just meant for 2 nights. Okay, but he says it would maybe just the inverse of the shlamim. So you would put nights instead of days. So therefore, Kasser Rachmana Hazeh, the Torah has to write Hazeh to tell you only have the first night. You only get to eat it the first night of Pesach. Okay, Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. What about him? Amar Lacha. I don't need a pasuk to tell you that it shouldn't be like a shlamim, because Milei Sasira ad Baker. The Torah says, do not leave it over until the morning nafka. That's where I learned that out from. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva Amar Lacha. Iloi Kasav Rachmana Hazeh Havamina my Baker Baker Sheni. Without the Hazeh, I would have said it means the second morning. So let's assume that Baker doesn't tell you which morning, so it could be the second morning. Rebbe Lazar Amalacha, Kalechad the Kasar Baker, Baker Rishon. It never means the second morning. Okay, so that's our machlekes. Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva. Do you get till the morning to eat your Korban Pesach midiraisa, or do you only get until Chatzos? So our mission that says that you only have until Chatzos is going like Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah, and according to Alacham, you get until the morning. Okay, now Rava wants to know, that's great. What about matzah nowadays? Amar Rava, Ochel matzah bizman hazeh achar chatzos, leReb Lazar ben Azariah lo yotzi yedei chavasei. According to Reb Lazar ben Azariah, since matzah is connected to the Pesach, if you eat matzah after chatzos, you do not fulfill your obligation. Says the Gemara Pshita. Well, that's obvious. Kivan the iskish Pesach Pesach dami. Well, since it's a hekesh, so there's a hekesh between matzah and Pesach. So the zman for matzah should be the same as the zman for Pesach. Ma'udatema, says the Gemara, had afkir kromei akesha. I would have thought, no. The first night, we already told you that you don't have a hekesh for matzah. Why do you have a chiyuv matzah the first night nowadays? From be'erev teichlu matzahs. So I would have thought that once the Torah says that there's no hekesh, I'm sorry, the reason why there's no hekesh is because we saw yesterday that the pasuk says Shiva Zem Techel Matzos, and it says Shesh Zem Techel Matzos v'Yam Shvi Atzeres. So the Torah says that there's only a rishus. If there's no chiyuv to eat matzah, it's only a rishus. But Erev Techel Matzos tells you that there's a chiyuv. So I would have said that since the Torah says it does away with the hekesh, so I would have thought that maybe when I have Erev Techel Matzos, so then it has different parameters than the original halacha. Says the Gemara, Kamash Malon. What Rav is coming to teach us is when the Torah told you be'erev teichel matzahs, it's not giving you an entirely new mitzvah of matzah. It's putting matzah back into the original halachas that it had. So since originally there was a hekesh between matzah and Pesach, and even though there's a drasha that tells you that like nixes that hekesh, when the Torah says be'erev teichel matzahs and tells you that you have a chiyuv to eat matzah, it's telling you that the chiyuv goes back to its original parameter, and therefore, according to Reb Lazar ben Azariah, you only have until chatzos to eat your matzah. Which matzah is that? So again, that'll depend if you hold that the ikar chiyuv of matzah is the matzah you eat by Maitzi Matzah, or it is by Afikomen, which is Machlekes and the Rishonim. But who do we paskin like in this Machlekes, Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva? So you would say, well, we have a Stam Mishnah here that goes like Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. We also have a Stam Mishnah, if you say Ezo Mekaymen in the morning, and Ezo Mekaymen, it says that a Pesach something like that. What is it got? We have the last one. It says Eni Nechel El Ad Chatzos, Eni Nechel Tzli. What? Bechor, Pesach, Meiser, right? Those. So that's a Stam Mishnah, also like Rebbe Lazar ben Azariah, Pashtus. But there's a Mishnah in Megillah that says is a Stam Mishnah like Rabbi Akiva that says you can eat the Pesach all the way until Alis HaShachar. So
that say that the Korban Pesach is only until Chatzos.
So that's a Stam Mishnah like Reb Elazar ben Azariah. And there's another Stam Mishnah. That is correct. So take a look at, let's take a look at this thesis. It's Kishmak thesis. Amarava. Ocha matzah b'zman hazeh. Yeshu version, the kach halacha. Some say that the halacha follows like this. You have to eat your matzah before chatzos. Stam asis and kavasei. Because our Stam Mishnah is like Reb Elazar ben Azariah. The Ein Zarai, it's not a good raya. But Parak Beis Megillah, Ashkon Stam Achrina, we have a different Stam Mishnah, the Like Havasei, which is not like him. That not Zak Kol of Shabbat Sosei Balayla, Kosher Kol Halayla, and La'asuyei Achilas Pesachim, with the Like Elazar ben Azariah, the Achilas Pesachim Zal Chatzos, and Hainu Vadim Midiraisa. That's for sure talking about Midiraisa. Ubazur Achipas Lo Mechel. Aval Ha Dam. Okay, so that is a Stam Mishnah like the Rabbi Akiva. Not that it says, "Avol hadam meaning behekach halom be'mur." As at chatzos k'damim b'reish brachas like havi elam derbanan. That's only din derbanan. And I feel Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah mishum hachi im ikiv lahakjar chatzos loy nifsa bekach. The minatera hayuk shirayim kishem adabaker v'cham le'asu circle dever lavim le'el beis apsol kaidem azman. So that is the Mishnah is only din derbanan. U'aperek amizbech mekadesh. Nami muchach da chatzos. The had the chatzos oisa ikchum midrabanan is only midrabanan. V'ad perek ezu mekayman. The Amar Masinsin da Pesach enachal ad chatzos. Rav Elazar ben Azari. Uparach mimai deraisa. The midrabanan. How do you know? Maybe when the Mishnah says any nechal ela ad chatzos is only midrabanan, and it's even going according to Rabbi Akiva. Umishan the Gemara answers imkain my ella. Why does it say any nechal ela ad chatzos? Ella. Pirish Yehavim Darbanan Lehav Lemisni Ella. The El Gabi Toida Vachadas Tana Ad Chatzais, Tana Ella. The Filu Ira, the Avar, the Racham, Leachal Kaidam Chatzais, Loin Yimsal, Voechla Achar Chatzais, Kamasha, Parakam, the Brachas Gabi Krishma. That if you missed it, you're able to do it, make it up after Chatzais, with like the story with the sons of Rabbi Gamliel that came late home from the Chasana. Mikamakam Ikasiag, the Avar, the Racham, and Leachal Kaidam Chatzais. Vachir Sinasam, Imkain, my Ella. So why is it saying Ella? Must be telling you that's like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. V'suki hanach mahanach deraisa klemer the mahanu de ene nechal el menuya ve'eltzliya hanu deraisa av hanach nami the chatzos deraisa Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So this is that the Mishnah and Ezu Pesach and Ezu Mekayman is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah because it says the word Ella. The Mishnah here is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The Mishnah in Megillah is like Rabbi Akiva. So the Taisa says you have no raya from a Stam Mishnah. You can't prove to me based on that who the halach is like. He doesn't tell you how we paskin. So
It doesn't say Allah.
no, here's a stamish like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That's true. Yeah, I think most people. I've never heard of somebody like not eating any matzah before chatzos. Right? Most people get some matzah before chatzos. So meikar, then I think we paskin that the ikar might see the ikar matzah of chiyuv is by the first matzah we eat. We're machmer also for Afikaiman, so people have two Gesesim for Afikaiman, and assuming that it's deraisa, according to like the Rashbam, Shita, and it tried to eat it before Chatzos. Okay. Zak Gemara weiter. Here we go. Now, what was this deal with a little kachim now? You'll let me know if I get anything wrong, Zevi. Pigul v'ha-Nosar mitamen as yadayim. So Pigul and Nosar are mitamen yadayim. So Pigul is the halacha if you do one of the four avodas of a korban and you do it with the wrong time in mind. It's chutz l'zmanai. That's one level of Pigul. Another level of Pigul if you have in mind to eat it in the wrong spot. That's chutz l'mekayman. And Nosar is if you don't finish eating the korban by the next morning, it becomes, or whenever the tzman is over, it becomes Nosar. And eating either of these, I think, is of course. Of course.
We're doing avodah in the wrong place. Huh?
What happened?
We're doing avodah.
Doing the avodah in the wrong place?
The chef doesn't mind to do
To do a different avodah in the wrong place. That's the chutz l'makayim means.
I could be wrong.
I'm great. That's why we have
I
here.
remember.
Okay, great.
It's been a while. I'm asking. I don't know.
Okay. In any event, if you had either of these, so they were geyser on it that it's metami yadayim. Now, what was the reason for this? So Rav Huna Rav Chizda, Chad Omar, Mishum Chajdei Kahuna, they were concerned with Kahanim. V'Chad Omar Mishum Atzilei Kahuna, they were worried about the Kahanim being lazy. Chad Omar Kazayis, V'Chad Omar Kabeitz. The Gemara explains that they're not arguing. And it goes like this. Chad Tanya Pigul, V'Chad Tanya Nosar. One of them was talking about Pigul, and one was talking about Nosar. Man Tanya Pigul, the one who said we're talking about Pigul, that's Mishum Chajdei Kahuna. They were concerned that the Kehanim, the way the Rashban learns it, is will purposely make a korban Pigul, and then, meaning they didn't like the guys. They didn't like the owners who were bringing their this korban. So they would purposely make the korban Pigul, and they would tell them that they did it by mistake, therefore they're not chayav to pay. If they did it on purpose, they're chayav to pay. If they did it by mistake, they said they're sheigigan, so they don't have to pay for it. So because of this concern, which is wacko to me, that was wacko to me, I'll tell you. So because of this concern, they made it that Pigul will make your hands tamei, which would make the kahanim not have to go wash their hands, which is not something they would want to do. Now you have to understand, making Pigul is a lav, right? So they were like willing to be over the lav because they don't like these people. But if they're gonna have to go wash their hands now because they touched Pigul, now it's already annoying, and therefore that would prevent them from doing it. Pretty amazing, no? That's like psychology. You know what I mean? This is like the Chacham understood the people so well. The lav, maybe it'll bother them, maybe they wouldn't. But if they're gonna have to go wash their hands, that'll keep them straight. That they're not gonna want to do. Okay, so that is Miktu Mishum Chajdei Kuhuna. That's one pshat. The Rashbam brings another pshat having to do with bringing the carbon shlomim l'shem chatas because they wanted to get more food, I think, but he doesn't like that pshat. Okay, but that's that. And then the other one was atzle kuhuna. If they're going to be lazy, I guess make sure they wanted to make sure they ate everything that they had to eat, so there shouldn't be an issue of Nosar. So that they made a gzeira that if you're going to touch Nosar, it's going to make you Tamei. So therefore, again, they're going to make sure that they're not going to have any Nosar. Okay. Chadam Kazayis, Chadam Kabetza. What's that? Madam Kazayis. How much? What shear is going to be matama? Then that's ki isura. They said the size of the isser, since the isser is the size of a kazayis, so they went with the shear of an isser. Madam Kabetza is ketumasa because in order for something to be matama something else, it needs to be the size of a kabeya. Okay. Geschmack. Zogt the Mishnah. Last Mishnah in Pesachim, in Paragraph Pesachim. Pirach birchas a Pesach. If you made a bracha on your Korban Pesach, what bracha do you make on the Korban Pesach? Asher kilishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu al achil le'echol ha-Pesach. Rashbam says v'tzivanu le'echol ha-Pesach. Okay, that's a bracha you make when you would eat the Korban Pesach. There's a carbon, and then there's a bracha that you have when you eat kachim. I'm sorry, not, the carbon chagiga, that if you had extra chagigas yudalid, you'd make a bracha shekeshem says v'tzivanu le'echol hazevach. Okay, so the Rashbam says, the Mishnah says, if you made a bracha on the Pesach, that will pater your other carbon as well. But if you made a bracha on the carbon chagiga, that does not pater your Pesach. Okay, interesting. I don't know anything about this. I just happened to. I would have thought the opposite, just because the bracha. Maybe that's why it doesn't work. The bracha of Pesach is very specific. Like, why would that pater the carbon like a general bracha on a zevach, on a regular carbon? That's just interesting to me. Now, it happens nothing to do with that because we'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Akiva argues and he says, "Leizu paterazu, leizu paterazu." Now, you would have thought this is just like a machlekes and brachas, but it's actually like really not. Listen to this Gemara. It says the Gemara, "Kishetim shalem l'dir Rabbi Shmuel, zrika b'chal shvicha, v'lei shvicha b'chal zrika." Okay, every carbon needs to have matan damim on the mizbeach. You got to put some dam on or near the mizbeach. Okay, and there are different matnas dam on the mizbeach. There are some karbanos that require you to put dam on all four corners of the mizbeach. Some need shtaim sheina arba. Some get it zrika on the under the chura sikra or above the chura sikra, and then there are karbanos that just you pour your shayfech, the dam, on the yesod of the mizbeach. Okay, now the regular carbon, your carbon chagiga, it's a carbon shlomim, that gets shtaim shein arba, that gets zrika shtaim shein arba. The carbon pesach gets shvicha, gets poured onto the yesod of the mizbeach. Now, Rabbi Yishmael holds zrika is included in shvicha. And therefore, I think that means that if you were to have done shvicha on your carbon chagiga, that would work. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. I think that's what it means. So I think that's right. So he holds that, because the dam zevachecha yishbach. So you don't need shvicha, but if you did it, it would work. I think that's what Rabbi Shmuel holds. So therefore, he holds that since the other karbanas are included in the Korban Pesach l'gabe what you have to do with the dam. So memela, the bracha you make on the Pesach could work for the zevach as well. But shvicha is not included in zricha, and therefore the bracha you'll make on the Korban Chagiga will not help you for your Korban Pesach. And Rabbi Akiva holds lo shvicha b'chal zrika, lo zricha b'chal shvicha. You can't; they're independent, and you can't. You couldn't, I guess, even b'diavad do any of the other ones, and therefore the brachas won't include each other either. Okay, a little kachim action, and we end the Masechta on, or at least we learned the parak with a very nice Gemara on Kuchaval Hamid Beis that's referring to also a time when you make two brachas and a shayla of who makes these brachas. Rav Simloi iklat lepidyon haben. Rav Simloi went to a pidyon haben, and ba'umine they asked him as follows: Pshita, it's obvious to us that al pidyon haben, Ashek Lishem says it's al pidyon haben. You make the bracha al pidyon haben, and Avi Ben mevarich. The Avi Ben is the one who makes that bracha. But Baruch Shachianu v'Kimanu v'Genu Zman Hazeh Kayin mevarich, Avi Ben mevarich. Who makes the Shachianu? The assumption is that they both should make it. They both could make it. But the shaila is who should be mitzi whom. Kayin mevarich de kamti hana liyadei. Should the Kayin make the bracha because he's getting hana? He's making money, especially now. Silver went up a lot. You know what I mean? It's good cash. Oy Avi Ben mevarich, or should this father or the son make a bracha? Be mevarich de ka'avin mitzvah because he's doing a mitzvah. Now that's a little bit wild because since when do you make a shachianu when you do a mitzvah? You never make a shachianu when you do a mitzvah. What?
Well,
Okay, there are times, yes, you do make a bracha. Sometimes you do a mitzvah. I was thinking about like a talis. You know, like a bracha, when you get a talis, like a new talis on the beged. Usually when you do a mitzvah for the first time, that's like a,
mitzvah is mine.
when you put tefillin on, you don't make a bracha, a shachianu. Right?
No.
Instead of, when do you make a bracha on a mitzvah?
Last time you ever put tefillin on?
I'm saying,
Right? You don't
I'm
make
saying
it.
mitzvah without zman.
What?
A mitzvah without zman. Get one of these.
Right, you're saying, but mitzvahs that come with the zman, you know, Yom Tov, right? I guess because it comes with the zman. That makes sense. So that would make sense for here because you couldn't do the pidyon haben for the first 30 days. And now you could do it, so you can make a pidyon haben. That would be a good svara.
You say shechin for all the mitzvahs have zman, right?
Like what?
I'm saying like,
Yom
next
Tovim.
Hanukkah, I'm saying like, what do you say?
Right. Those
Shechina.
mitzvahs we do make a shachianu. We make a shachianu on mitzvahs that come at a specific time.
Right, like, you know.
Right. So a pidyon haben.
You could ask questions. You could say that you have to wait 30 days, but it's not contingent on any specific moment in time or on the calendar.
Let me see here.
Well, and also you couldn't do it for the first 13 years of your life.
Well,
12.
Right. So you should make a shachianu, but we don't. But you weren't chayav to do it. Maybe that's why it's different. I mean, the first time you're chayav to do it.
Neither high for the first 30 days.
Oh, okay. So one svar is that the father's happy his kid is not a nafil. He made it to 30 days. Or because the mitzvah is not common, or because the mitzvah that's tuli bizman, which is interesting. You only do it after 30 days. But you're asking a kasha for that. Okay, but that's right on that. Akitzer, what's the halacha? So the Gemara says, they have a biyadei. Rav Simlai wasn't sure. Also, Shal Ben Midrash, I wanted to ask them Beis Medrash. Amrullah, they said to him, Avi haben mevarach shtayim. The Avi haben makes both brachas. The hilchasa Avi haben mevarach shtayim. The halacha is that the Avi haben makes both brachas. Interesting that the Masechta ends with pidyon haben. I'm just thinking about this now. The Ma'aseh, one of the first mitzvahs we got after Yetzias Mitzrayim was pidyon haben.
Right.
And Perik Gimel and Bay. Right? It's pidyon haben.
Instead of the
Instead of the Vacheres. Gishmak. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us on this wonderful 40-day challenge. Very Gishmak. Michael Chaim. And we'll discuss the next Masechta later.
It wasn't much.
morbid.
It wasn't much.